Hello, hello, and welcome back to Divine Journey 2. Last time we got our foray into Chapter 15 here. We started with a bit of blood magic, getting up to about here, and we started with a little bit of evilcraft, getting to really nowhere in particular. But that changes today. Today I have some kind of ambitious goals. I would like to set up alchemy table automation. I would like to progress through evilcraft. If nothing else, then at least 2 down here, and or maybe if we're lucky, down to these runic plates. Completing both of these really will get us access to Chapter 17 into Botania, which will be really nice. But that starts with blood magic, and evilcraft of course. So if we're going to automate the alchemy table, we should probably get some alchemy tables. I have put together 20. This was very expensive, as you can see. This is about 200 blocks of dark steel. A little over that actually, 240 I believe. So that hurt. And I also have some stuff here that's almost all I need for the blood infuser up here, this evilcraft machine that does stuff. I don't know. Between episodes I did a couple things. I increased a lot of the buffers on our empowered crystals over here. Most of these are up to 16 stacks now, with the exception of Glod, which is up to 32. We've increased a few buffers on things like Mithril and Mana Dust and these dusts over here. Really just stuff that we can produce en masse, but there was no reason that we had them capped so low. We also extended this little wall out here further. This is where we're going to be setting up our alchemy table automations and probably hellfire forges and, I don't know, something else. I'm sure that'll come up later in blood magic. I really like how this has turned out. I increased some of the hill height around here a little bit. I wanted to add a bit more height variation to the area. I added some more of these layer blocks to really just this entire half. So it's almost like the grass over here has been corrupted by the blood magic or abyssal craft or, you know, I'm sure I'll figure out good storytelling for it before we get to the end of the pack. Or you can come to your own conclusions, because that's fun. This little pathway right here, though, leads us into an area I've sorted for our alchemy tables. We have this kind of little closet over here. I really like these netherite lamps up here. These look really good here. And these black concretes here are where we're going to put our alchemy tables. Now obviously we will not be using all of these today, however I would like to get to, I believe, tier 3 essences, which is, if nothing else, these 10 and maybe these 15. Yeah, they expect us to have tier 1, 2, and 3 done. We can do tier 1 basically right now, tier 2 I'm sure we'll be able to do in just a moment. Oh, actually no. And tier 3 will come later than that, so tier 3 is hopefully something we'll do near the end of the episode, and hopefully won't be too terrible for us. To start with, we're going to need at least 5 of these weak blood orbs because we need to make these essences here. Aether, Aquacellus, Incendium, and Terre. But each of these also takes a simple catalyst, which is something in itself. I believe these also take LP from the blood orb, so maybe fully passive automation isn't going to be the best for us. So it's a lot of LP that we'll be paying to even have just a stack of each of these. Not to mention the material costs ranging from largely inconsequential to requiring gas tiers and aerogel. But really the only place to start is at the start. So let's get started. Now I'm not entirely sure how these tables work. I'm not sure if you can just input on one side and output on the same side. But if you can, that'll make this a lot easier because I would like to put the drawers right here. Not here, but the block above it. On this level, you'll figure out what I mean. Okay, hopefully I'd like to just have a conduit here and then the drawers on top of that conduit. And hopefully that's the only point of connection we need, and we can have just our drawers basically showing what they're making right on top of each of these alchemy tables. In preparation for this, I've set up a P2P line down here that leads up to here for our interfaces, so we should just be able to plug this right in, and these should connect right up nice and easily. So we're going to start with a simple catalyst here. Most of this should be stuff that we already have, so this should be pretty easy to request all the things for, provided that nothing gets full. To this end, we're going to use some limited item filters, and hopefully that should do what I want it to. So I'm hoping that if we just turn this on, it should be smart about this. Wow, that was really good. That was really good, actually. I didn't expect it to be so easy. I know it's not going to be so easy for everything, but I just didn't expect it to be so easy. So inside of our LP network, we have 11,000, it looks like. So that should be able to get us, actually quite a number of crafts. So if I just set this here, color it, of course, and if I just toss in the blood orb, oh wow, that made actually very quickly. So it looks like it's having trouble pulling the simple catalyst is because this is off. How about the bottom? Yes, the bottom. Not my ideal by any means, but I suppose it works. I suppose I could also bring the interfaces down a block and just have the conduit in 3 blocks instead of wrapped around like this. That might be what I do. Something more like this. Maybe we take some catalyst out to refill. Oh, very quickly. Okay, great. Alright, this looks good. We just need to hook these up with some storage buses, but we'll do that at the end. So what I'm going to do for each of these is I'm actually going to have them broken in the middle here. This is something I actually don't see people do very often with conduits, and I really don't understand why. I feel like you can make these so much neater than they really seem like they have to be, and people just don't, and I don't really get it. Little copy, little paste. This Uber Conduit Probe has got to be one of the best things that they've shown me in this pack, I must say. This thing is awesome. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, we are going to need another 4 blood orbs, which I believe is another 4 dread crystals. Or actually, these Corallium decorated blood stars make the apprentice orbs. Is this better than making a dread crystal? It takes a lot of blood, but do I care about that really? Compared to Steaming Restonia, Shards of Oblivion, oh, I guess the Ender cores especially are kind of annoying. I assume the Tier 3 Blood Orb probably takes this red and ready thing, so I imagine that's probably more of a hassle. I think our best bet is probably to make a few of these. We need to make some more of these Blood Infusion cores anyways for this Blood Infuser, so we need to just kind of spend some time slaughtering. Let's go do some slaughtering. Oh, hold on. Came back to a Divine RPG dimension, and I am astounded by the wildlife. Can I tame you? Yes! You are my buddy now, but you have a lot less HP. Maybe you want some Catalion to fill your stomach. Oh, you're going for him. You are going at him. Here, have some of this. Oh, you liked it. Oh, let's get you some more while we get me some blood. We actually needed some more coagulated blood for those hardened blood droplets, and I don't really feel like scouring the nether anymore, so we're doing this instead. The Catalions have bothered me for too long, and this is what they deserve. That all done, we can make 3 of these for alchemy tables, and we'll do 4 more for... Wait, those do stack? Why didn't I think they stacked? We're doing 4 more for the, this thing right here, which I think we can actually craft now. Yeah, we can. Nice. Oh, this doesn't stack. Alright, sure. Blood orbs get. Now we can just chuck them in each of these, and that should be good enough, provided we don't run empty, because I think if we run empty and try to process anything, we take like a ton of damage, and we don't really resist it very well, which would be really bad. So I guess up first is this Aether, which takes gas tears, glowstone, aerogel. Maybe we do this one next. Let's go Aquasalis real quick. Alright, Aquasalis looks like... Oh, a lily pad. Can we make these? Is that a resources fisher can do it? That's not ideal. Maybe we need to make one of those too. Well, we've got 9 to start with, so I suppose we can do this for right now. Kind of the awkward thing is actually the fact that we don't have ink sacs. I'm not sure if this will work like I hope it does, but I guess there's the one way to find out. I think if nothing else we need to also put water buckets on passive though. Well, obviously we need to do this, right? But that doesn't seem like it'll be too hard. So if I chuck a bunch of water buckets in here, what happens? It puts in one, but not the other. Oh, I guess we gotta rename these too. Huh. Well, I was kind of hoping I wouldn't have to run into this problem so early, but I guess it was to be expected. So originally I think I said I was going to do this with integrated dynamics, but I do believe actually probably the best option is going to be with Applied Energistics naming inscribers. Yeah, these name presses. This is the rough setup I have in mind. We have an interface here that's going to pull various items that we need. In this case, we're going to start with water buckets. And it's going to push them into these inscribers here, which will have whitelists for each given thing. We'll have a name press in the top, and they'll be stored in these drawers, and hopefully that should store us some amount of named items that we can request in these interfaces back here. So now if we take this here and set this here, it's requesting these water underscore buckets. And if we change our item filter for this, I think, yes, we have made Aquasalis. We do need to pull out buckets though, which is fine. That's probably for the best actually. So in circumstances like this, we'll just have an insert on blue for empty buckets back to the interface. So it should just pull everything back. Yeah, the Aquasalis is being pulled up, right? But the buckets aren't being pulled out for some reason. Oh, maybe if this is on? Yeah, that did it. Okay. I just forgot to turn that on, so it is from the back. It's from the same side. Okay, fair enough. To pass the rest of the Aqua Salus, we need to get lily pads, ink sacs, and water buckets. So we'll start with lily pads, and it recommends this resources fisher, I believe, which doesn't seem too hard at all, just stuff that we've made before, and this aquatic entangler. Here we go. So it looks like it fishes from the area below and puts stuff up above it. So maybe a storage crate somewhere would be good for this. We've got some extra space here above the dye mixer we have, so I suppose we could set it right here. Well, it looks like it's already producing, if a bit slow. I suppose we'll filter this a little bit, because we might end up using some of this fish later for something. A walrus! We could do all kinds of things with this. Of course, we'll throw an upgrade of each type in there, because we can, and this thing desperately needs some speed. For the most part, I think I'm going to want to trash the large majority of this. We'll probably save, like, raw fish, puffer fish. We'll just have a trash can on the back for everything that isn't these. Yeah, I suppose we could get those better books here, but the only thing that I could think we would ever really want or need is, like, Rive. And the chances that we pull a Rive book are pretty darn low to where I don't really feel that harshly about it. Hooking up one storage bus later, we should have a few extra lily pads in our system now. At least one extra lily pad. There we are. And I'm sure it'll disappear before too long. Alright, so that's an item off the list. Now we just need ink sacs and the water buckets. The easier of the two seems like water buckets, and by a lot, so we'll start with that. So obviously to make water buckets we're going to need empty buckets. And I think we'll just use a pressurized fluid tank to fill each of them. So we shouldn't need a machine step, but we are going to need to make buckets. Buckets take iron plates, so we're going to need to pass with iron plates, which we actually don't have room for on that wall anymore, so we have to start on this one. Which I'm not really excited about, because that takes me a long time to set up, and I don't really have a ton of time in this exact recording session. But it's what must be done. Alright, so here's our setup. We just have a fluid export bus out the bottom here, and an interface putting in water buckets, and this thing just fills water buckets for us. This should supply all the water buckets we need. Now if we look over here, yeah, now we're filtering up our water buckets. Alright, and that's water buckets down. So I have an idea for ink sacs, but I want to come back to that probably later in the episode, just at a time in which during my recording I have more time to do stuff. So in the meantime, we'll do Incendium. We're actually going to change this back here. This is going to be now an interface that's requesting both water and lava, and maybe more things in the future. It probably helps to see the interface and know what we're getting rid of. Lava buckets, pyrotheum, infernal bulbs, and netherrack, and then a renamed pyrotheum. Very simple stuff, all things considered. I need an item filter on this. I was just wondering where all that stuff was going. Oh no! Oh man. I spelled it wrong first try. It's actually pyro them dust. Happy Pride Month, everybody. Alright, we have this passive, which means we can request this passively, and filter this passively, and once we have simple catalysts, we'll be able to make these passively. To start off though, we'll just take one out of here, toss it in here, make our Incendium, and put it up here. That one's pretty easy. I think Terra is going to be kind of the same in terms of ease. Looks like it's compressed sand, dirt, gravel, and obsidian. Realistically speaking, I think I'm just going to put a compacting drawer on our sand, gravel, and dirt drawers, and that should be good. I'll just do that real quick. Yeah, our buffer sizes for these should go up like a lot, but I mean, that's fine. It's sand and gravel. This is just made from power. Who really cares? And it looks like our dirt drawer was full, actually. I made one of these down here just because the quantum quarry already uses power to dig up dirt, so I may as well get some dirt out of it because I use it a lot for building. That actually filled up already, so let's just chuck a bunch of these in here, and hopefully this is fast enough to transport it all. And it looks like our compressed dirt will be going up very soon, so I'll just come back and rip this all out soon. So we should just be able to add simple catalysts, compressed dirt, compressed sand, compressed gravel, obsidian, wild root, see it all flickering and realize I forgot to put in a limited item filter again. We don't have this hooked up yet, so we'll just grab one of these simple catalysts, chuck it in here, and make our terrae. Now all we're missing is the aether, which 3 of these pieces seem pretty easy. The aerogel I'm not particularly looking forward to. I suppose I can just run an excavator and that'll probably get me all I need for a very long time. The gas here is I think I'm just going to have to run via a powered spawner, which is not my ideal, I'll be honest, but it's the path we must take, so oh well. And we're short on ender crystals again. We're back and it's the next day and it's a very beautiful sunrise here in our our lovely world. I've taken a bit of a side tangent to work on powered spawners, specifically, because we're going to need a lot of these in the future, I'm sure. Our main bottleneck whenever we want to auto-craft one of these is actually here at the bottom. It's these glowstone elevation units, cryothium coolant units, flight control units, sun crystals, and ender crystals. These two I don't necessarily mind doing on demand, because they're not particularly hard, they just kind of take a bit of time. Realistically speaking, the only thing we're missing for this is like a pattern, because I don't think we need to passive these, at least not yet. Sun crystals are kind of the same. We need to set up liquid sunshine or have a place to do that, which we could do, but it's so easy to make these en masse that I'm not really that bothered by it. Ender crystals, flight control units, and sentient ender, not used here but is used in other places, are really annoying to get comparatively. I don't like getting them. Having to go collect soul vials for everything is just so annoying, and I have to dump it in the soul binder and blah 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 blah. And it makes getting a powered spawner for anything that I need from a mob drop just so much more tedious than it really needs to be. So what I would like to do about this is I would like to set up automations for endermen, bats, and eventually witches once we have these two things ready to go, because currently we can't actually make a third powered spawner because we don't have the ender crystals or flight control units. So we need to pass a fused quartz, which is just an alloy smelter recipe, Z-logic controllers, which is a slice and splice, soul vials, which is just combining all that together, and then we can pump these into powered spawners on soul vial mode. If you're not familiar with that, you can have it set to capture here, and you can just put soul vials in and it'll capture it for you automatically, and it effectively just passives the soul vial aspect of it, which is really easy and really nice. So I'm going to add a few more machines, and we'll come back once I've got something better to show you. Alright, so here's what we put together. Up here at the Slice and Splice, we made a Prosperity Matic, and I've seen other people do this, and I'm kind of surprised it works so well. What I have not seen other people do is shears, so I just ended up making passive shears. So we have shears being made over here. Unfortunately, the stack limit is 1, so we have 1 shears on passive at any given time, which, I mean, that's probably fine. I didn't see us needing shears for too many things, so hopefully that's okay. So this makes our Z-logic controllers, this makes our fused quartz for our soul vials, and this craft over here makes our soul vials. Soul vials go into here, and now all we have to do is just set some filters. So right there, now we have passive bat souls and enderman souls. Cool, let's go make some more powered spawners. So for ender crystals, we're actually just going to do a pattern for this. I don't think we need to passive this too much, because from what I saw, it didn't seem like we need a ton of these all the time on hand. Most of it looks like it goes into these weather crystals, which the far and away biggest use of this is in our powered spawners. We do use these in dimensional transceivers and ender chests and such, but I don't think we're going to need too many of these to where we're going to need like them en masse. Like again, these entangleporters are used occasionally, ender tanks are used occasionally, ender chests are used occasionally, but none of this stuff I believe is like necessary more than we would just request the 1 or 2. Now, let's request like 8 of these to start. Yeah, then we should be able to watch this happen. Yeah, it's not super fast, but honestly, we can just do something about that. Let's just get a lot of capacitor in here. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a lot better now. Plus it recycles all of our soul vials, so it shouldn't take too many from us. I would be a little worried about our solarium if... Whoa. Actually, our solarium did take a pretty big hit. That should be only a one-time hit. That should just be filling buffers, though. Like, I think it has to buffer a stack of blocks in here. I suppose I could use a limited item filter for soul vials here, but I just didn't really feel like it. I mean, it's gold and sand. Like, we make gold and sand. We are running a little bit low on gold, but we're fine. So now all that we're missing from our powered spawners are these handful of things at the bottom here. Sun crystals I'll leave to its own devices. I'll just do that by hand. That's fine. These coolant and elevation units, I think I do want to put these on autocraft though. They'll be a little bit tricky, but nothing too crazy. And flight control units I don't think are too bad now that we have the soul binder ready to go. Yeah, it's expensive, but it's nothing we've not done before. I mean, obviously, right? We have a jet plate. So I'm just going to add some patterns and come back to this and talk you through anything else that may be different besides putting patterns into places. Here's a design I've come up with. I've ultimately ended up putting both of these together. I believe I have this routed right on the filters, so we should have this filtered for any of these recipes. What goes into the transposer goes into this one, and what goes into the magma crucible goes into this one, obviously. This interface should just push everything into this chest, which has some conduits extracting out the back, to put things where they're supposed to go. So let's try it. If I just request one of these, it should put it all together and put things, I think, in the right spot. Unless I did put them backwards, in which case that sucks. I might have just forgotten to put extract on, actually. Yep, that's all it always goes. Let's try that again. We're gonna need another one of these anyways. Yeah, the unit goes in here. This is filling up with cryotheum. Yeah, the problem before was we had our output out the top, so it was outputting to that chest up here instead of down or out the back into the interface again. Cool, we got that done now. So now the only thing preventing us from just auto-crafting a powered spawner on demand is the estimation circuits? What? I mean, I was gonna say sun crystals, and you know, sun crystals is fine, but I didn't know we were out of clathrate. Oh, no, I just forgot to make coated clathrate. That's my problem. Okay, yep, easy fix. I'd actually recently increased the buffers for our processors, so that explains why that's all needing a backlog. Where has all of our solarium gone, actually? We should not be that low on solarium. How many soul vials are we making? Oh, we're still just backlogging? I guess it is 4 stacks of blocks of solarium. This probably was not my best idea. Yeah, I'm thinking we just get limited item filters. That's probably for the best. Oh my god, are the Horsemen of the Apocalypse attacking me right now? You have got to be kidding me. You people! It's not even storming out. What is up with you people? Go to space. Get out of my wiring. Unbelievable. And here I was complimenting the beauty of this world, and now I'm getting that happening to me. I blame Abyssal-Craft. Alright, limited item filters are in, and we are no longer bleeding solarium, I think. I would like to craft 1 powered spawner, please. Ooh, thank you. Let's get that going. And I don't have to do anything for it anymore. Isn't that wonderful? Don't worry about sun crystals. Don't ask me about that. I got a bit too greedy, it would appear. I didn't know they would kill me so easily. I was making some ineffable glass because I needed to put a box over top of the gas, and I got a bit greedy without really understanding how best to craft so many of those. Ow! Can I really be so upset if I die to my own hubris? Probably not. Well, we gotta make 4 more of those anyways. Another body to add to the pile. We're on number 5 now, which is not too bad for the amount of time I've put into this pack. At least in my opinion, it's not. My problem was I was doing this, and I was trying to individually click these in when I could just do this. Like, this is so much easier. I could have easily done all 7 of those if I actually just shift-clicked rather than trying to manually click them over. But I only found that out about 4 seconds from exploding, so oh well. Looks like while I was doing that, the powered spawner got locked up on the flux thruster, which is these numismatic dynamos again. I don't know why it keeps running into issues with the numismatic dynamo craft, because usually just turning it off and on again does it? Or does it? Yeah, I went and just remade the recipe, maybe that'll fix something. Looks like it crafted it at least for this time. Why are we not making flight control units? Ah, I see the problem. It's trying to make Enderium glass, and this is not accepting from the bottom. There we go. Now I should see it done in just a moment, probably. Yeah, we're just soul binding at this point. Alright. That explains that issue. Not sure what the issue with numismatic dynamo was. But now we can actually put this to use. Oh, I've got my quest for that. Cool. The reason I'm using ineffable glass here is because, well, ghasts can fly, and this should stop it from flying out of our little cage here. At least hopefully. Plus it lets me walk in and I don't have to, get too finicky with trying to make wacky doors or nothing. We can just have something to gaze into from pure safety. Plus we can sneak on it, which is pretty neat. We should just be able to flick this on and we should start seeing gas start flying out. At least in a little bit. I don't see any fire particles. I'm thinking something broke again with this wireless redstone. This wireless I love this stuff, but it is so finicky. Like, see, this just, it's on 5. If I pick it up and down, it comes back. It's just like, why does it need to do that? Whoa, ouch. Well, that works. That's good. At least we know that works. Yeah, that's something. Let's set a couple filters, and honestly, maybe add a sound muffler. Well, on the bright side, we don't have to worry about gas tiers anymore. Wow, those things are annoying, aren't they? Yeah, that's definitely worth sound muffling. I think I can hear that from like really far away. There we go, that should do it. I guess this is in the way, but hopefully that's fine. I might add witches. I've heard witches are a really good way of solving the redstone and glowstone issue that are so frequent, but I'm not sold on it yet, mostly because of effort reasons. I mean, you get how it is, right? Yeah, I'll just leave this running for a while to get our gas tiers, which is for our tier 1 essence, our last tier 1 essence. Remember, that's what we were working on today? I barely remember that's what we were working on today, because that was yesterday for me. We also need aerogel, but we have enough aerogel to suffice us for at least a little bit. I'll set up an excavator once we start needing like a lot of this stuff. Beyond that, I'm just gonna chuck a catalyst in here. It should pull it. Yep, we have our aether. There's all of our tier 1 essences. I wonder how long that took in video time. Yeah, so it looks like all we need to do now is actually just hook this up to some drawer controllers and to have enough LP to where this won't kill me to run. I didn't like how well-timed that cave noise was. So I'm going to take a little bit here and really just kind of sit at the sacrificial altar and do that for a bit so that we can hopefully build a stack of each of these in backlog while I go and eat some dinner, and then we'll be right back. Alright, and we're back, and most of our buffers are filled up. Basically all of these have an extra stack inside, so we're buffering 2 stacks, with the exception of Aquasalis, which is bottlenecked by lily pads currently, which I don't really think we can do faster, at least at the moment. I mean, we could just add more resources fishers, but I don't particularly feel like it, so this is the speed we're going at with this right now. I don't think we need a ton of this right now, thankfully, so that's fine. Looking ahead, I would like to immediately jump into the tier 2 essences, because, I mean, while we're here, we may as well get it done, right? Now, the problem with these tier 2 essences is, well, for one, they all need an apprentice blood orb, so that's going to be another 5 of those Corallium stars. For 2, they need the previous tier of essence. At least I imagine this is the previous tier. I imagine each of these tiers up as well. Sort of. But the biggest issue is actually going to be the strengthened catalyst. These take simple catalysts, as well as iron clumps and tin clumps, and basalt's powder. You may be wondering what an iron and a tin clump is. Well, I'm glad you asked. This is from the purification chamber for Mekanism, and you get it from purifying ores. But you can also get it from purifying iron shards, which you can get from chemically injecting iron ores, or chemically injecting iron crystals with hydrogen chloride. And iron crystals come from a clean iron slurry in a chemical crystallizer, which is this chemical washer thing, which requires iron slurry and sulfuric acid. Now, normally, I wouldn't bother with any of this. However, we're gonna need these crystals later for the top tier of catalysts, so we have to go through this whole rabbit hole. So, and I'm sure I will hear a resounding cacophony of just nothing but yes. Who wants to watch Mekanism or Quintupling today? I know! It's great! So what we're going to need for each of these is we're going to need either flint or oxygen. I'm thinking we'll just run flint because we have so much gravel and we can make so much gravel that it's fine into a purification chamber. Our shards we have to do in this chemical injection chamber with salt or hydrogen chloride. I'm hoping we have a good way of making a lot of salt. We can make it with brine, which we do have in the system. We have to make it a gas, but beyond that, that's not too bad. The other option is hydrogen chloride itself, which is hydrogen and chlorine, which I think we also get from something or other, which we also just get from brine, though. I believe it's actually back here we have a buffer of some chlorine. I mean, that might be a good amount. It's 192,000, and each of these takes 200 chlorine in effective amount. So this would be like 2,000 processes, which is not bad, right? Like, that's not terrible, but I think we're going to want more than 2,000. And by that point, I don't want to be relying on us needing more industrial leather to do this. So I think we're just going to do gaseous brine, and hopefully that's enough to sate our needs. In the iron crystals, we need a chemical crystallizer, as well as this clean iron slurry, which requires a chemical washer with some water and our normal iron slurry. And the iron slurry we get from sulfuric acid and iron ore. So we're going to have 2 of these strings, one for iron, one for tin, and I don't think we need any more types of crystals for anything else, thankfully. But sulfuric acid is a bit of a headache, because we need water vapor, which is not too bad, it's just 1 step. And sulfur trioxide, and sulfur trioxide is oxygen sulfur dioxide, and sulfur dioxide is oxidizing sulfur. So we need a step for the sulfur, and a step for the oxygen, and a step for this, and a step for that. Don't you love Mekanism? I know I love Mekanism. So for a big processing chain like this, 1, this will certainly be the end of the episode once we're finished with this, And 2, we need to organize our thoughts, because just putting this all out and trying to conceptualize it is just a bad idea that will lead to mistakes. So we're going to start at the bottom. So we need purification chambers fed with flint. Then we're going to need a chemical injection chamber with salt, and the salt is going to need a chemical crystallizer and a rotocondensator. So that's going to be 2 steps as well. And then we need another chemical crystallizer for our clean iron slurry, chemical washer to make our clean iron slurry, a chemical dissolution chamber to make our iron slurry, a chemical infuser to make sulfuric acid, a chemical infuser to make our sulfur trioxide, a chemical oxidizer for our sulfur, and an electrolytic separator to get our oxygen. This is our checklist, and it doesn't make any sense. So let's get started. So we're going to start with sulfuric acid, and we're going to work our way backwards, forwards, I don't know. This is step 1. This is our end goal. This will be sulfuric acid. To get sulfuric acid, it's a chemical infuser. So we want a chemical infuser whose output faces this way. And you know it, none of these machines can be changed or sighted, so we have to do this the worst way imaginable. This chemical infuser needs a sulfur trioxide on the left and water vapor on the right. Water vapor is probably the easiest, so we'll start with this. We just need to decondensitrate normal water. We just need a water input on this side at some point. Next we need sulfur trioxide, which is oxygen, and sulfur dioxide, once again in a chemical infuser. Sulfur dioxide we get from a chemical oxidizer, so we'll set that here. Oxygen comes out the right on an electrolytic separator from water again. So we'll just put another ender fluid conduit on blue, and we'll figure out where water connects to all this later. So I think this is just add sulfur and water, and it should make sulfuric acid. I'm gonna plug in some cables and some water and see if it works. Well, I hear a lot of noises going. The oxidizer is oxidizing, which goes into this infuser, which has added sulfur trioxide, and we have a tiny little bit of sulfuric acid. Okay, so this makes sulfuric acid. I kind of want to move this whole thing over a block because I do have the space to do that, and it would look a lot nicer. Man, copy paste gadgets, why can you not use tile entities? I know why, it's perfectly logical. Crumple, crumple, crumple. You know, one thing that actually is super handy here, that powers everything. So if we just like slap a power cell on top, set it to output, this just works. Oh, no, it doesn't power this. Oh, man. I'll be honest, I kind of want to move this over one to the right now, but I don't know if I want to move it enough. Oh, I think I do. Man. We're going to transport all of our sulfuric acid here with a gas storage bus, which we actually haven't used any of the gas storage yet. The reason is because I don't want to store gases. But, you know, unfortunately, we don't get to pick the things that we do in this world too much. Yeah, we do have sulfuric acid coming back into here now. The setup's rebuilt. So now it should be at least buffering sulfuric acid that we can put into other places now. Well, that's step 1. Probably one of the harder steps, honestly, so I'm glad to get that out of the way now, because, oh man, you could probably hear in my voice, I am not happy whenever I have to do anything with these more complicated Mekanism machines. It's the sightedness that really gets me. These things have no right to be as, like, pointlessly sighted as they are. Like, it just requires that everything become a big mess, or that you have cables running everywhere, and it's just, I don't like it. I just really, really don't like it. Thankfully, I believe the rest of the process should be pretty easy. I think we'll put it up against this wall here. So we're going to need 2 chemical dissolution chambers to start with, which are sighted, but at least it's sighted in a way that I can deal with. It looks like this is actually another kindly sighted machine. So I guess I'll just set these here. I'm kind of gauging how far across this is going to go. So after the washers would be the crystallizers. Oh, no, it does accept remedies. Okay, great. This one actually has a side config. That's awesome. We should be able to put those there. We're going to want to buffer for these. Yeah, we're probably going to want to push this over again. So let's do that now. Crystals should end up here, which means we just want chemical injection chambers just following them. Yeah, I think these machines only auto-eject, so I have to have some form of conduit coming into them, which I could do from the top or bottom. So I have those there, another drawer. Oh, are we going to be one space short? Oh no, because that technically takes up a full block, that right there. I guess I could move it all down one. That's probably worth doing, especially if it spans wall to wall. Is that a glimmer of hope? A shining beacon of light in these distressing times of Mekanism. Oh my glorious days, it's yet another astral sorcery star falling from the sky to wish upon. Oh, my spirits are lifted. There is hope in the darkness. I was routing up some cables for an export bus for the gas for our sulfuric acid. I think for the most part we're pretty good with the setup so far. Really all we need to do is just put in some cabling for just about everything, which is good. It was honestly a lot less awful than I thought it would be. I like spending these little moments watching a fallen star to just chat a little bit. I think it's nice. Truly, this says a lot about society, watching the stars fall with people and, just talk about stuff. Let's see what we get from our goodies this time, though, huh? Some general stuff, a shining casing, an arrow, an attempt on my life, another lucent scroll. It'll be awesome in the future, I bet. I've been noticing some brownouts going on with the ME system lately. I'm a bit concerned about that, specifically about why that's happening. Because every time I come down and check, everything seems to be okay. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need to put up a dense energy cell into this just to prevent those brownouts. We'll just set one right here for the time being, and if things stop breaking, then, well, we know what happened, and we'll find a better spot for this. The energy cell didn't do anything, at least not on this network. Maybe on the this network it'll do something if I put it like here. Maybe this will keep it happy. Alright, so we've got sulfuric acid hooked up to the dissolution chambers, so now we need to hook up water to the chemical washers, which isn't going to be too bad. I'm going to do a lot of cabling out the back here, just kind of through the wall with facades and the like. So we're just going to have an undeadening bowl like right here. And then we'll worry about making this all pretty later. Right now we're focusing really on function. You specifically want in from the top. That's fine. That is acceptable. Alright, so now it should push things through the washers, which means now we get to the crystallizers, which seem to just be a power recipe. Great. Cool, next up, chemical injection chambers. This is where we get our shards, so we're going to want the salt or hydrogen chloride in here. So we need to make salt now. And probably our best way is, again, going to be gaseous brine and a chemical crystallizer. So we need another chemical crystallizer, we need to decondentrate brine, which we get from our controller, which is just a fluid export bus then. Well, it looks like just from our jet plate, it's already running a little bit. We've got our first piece of salt. I just need to hook up actual power to it, and then we'll have our salt done. Alright, cables are hooked up for the salt. Next up, flint. Pretty easy. We'll just slap an interface on this cable right here. Request flint into the back of these. If we bother to actually set the configs right, we have our flint. And then we should just be able to slap some conduits on the way out here. Grab ourselves a power cell just to have everything actually run. Everything should be powered now. Now we should just have the moment of truth here of, can we extract all of this stuff into here? Alright, that's going through. It's good. Let's hook up tin while we're at that. It's washing. It's crystallizing. And then it'll stop and buffer here for a second. Crystals. And it should auto output here. And it does not have salt in it. Why not? I forgot to filter this. And then this is also filling up because this is not on auto eject. Now it's good. That is like a really pathetic amount of hydrogen chloride. How much did we need for each of these? 200? Hold on. How much does one salt give me? So this is empty. One salt gives me... That wasn't even a tick of progress. That was awful. I guess we are making hydrogen chloride. Well, on the bright side, everything up until that is working. Setting all this stuff up, I'm really starting to appreciate that stack of unending bowls I made like 400 hours ago. We still have 47. I don't even care. Like, I'm just spamming these here. I think I've used like 4 or 5 here already. Because just, I got a stack, who cares? You know? Man, I am so glad I batch crafted that super hard. Oh, looks like we've got a visitor. Just in time to show off our cool, shiny new setups that I forgot to plug the power cell back into. I'll worry about that in a second. So we've got 2 separators over here, one separating brine for the chlorine, one separating water for the hydrogen. We put it into here with the hydrogen and the chlorine. We make the hydrogen chloride, and it just kind of funnels through some conduits down through this way into the back of these machines to get things going. Looks like we've got our first tin shard already, and our iron shard will be coming soon, I'm sure. We just need to add more power to the system. Rather, add power to the system. Period. Alright, so the power is up and running here. Looks like this is all running good. We want to be dumping the excess on sodium, actually. And we are dumping the excess oxygen, that's good. Looks like we're severely netting hydrogen. Yeah, chlorine's kind of slow, it looks like. We might want some speed upgrades, because if this can only handle just barely the 1, then we definitely need it to go twice as fast for 2. Looks like it's actually already building up a backlog, which is pretty impressive. I guess these internal buffers aren't particularly huge. So we'll take the shards over there. We need to hook these up to the next machine in the chain. Bam, bam. Ah! Hey! I thought we were friends! That's what you get. It looks like we have the first of our clumps. Great! I don't think I touched any of those, so I think that's technically automatic. Let me go pretty this up, and let's take a look at it after that. Oh, I lied, actually. There's one thing we need to do still. We need to actually import tin and iron into these two things here, which is actually pretty easy now with the bit of cable infrastructure we've set up out the back here. We should just be able to add some conduits to these little corners here, and that should be just good enough. And then add some request pulls on the interface. Request pulls. What am I, a GitHub contributor? Is that what they do? Is that what all those words mean? I don't know. So the last thing we want to do is we want to set the interface down here that accepts iron and tin at super duper duper mega max priority. So we're going 10,001. So that should make it that whenever we get tin or iron into the system from the quantum quarry over there, it should try and put it into that interface down there and then into these two drawers first before anything else. And I should probably also downgrade these. Okay, now let's go clean this. Oh, hold on. Actually, ooh. I just realized I need to set up drawer connections for these. All of these, for that matter. It's going to be a little tough. I feel like I'm out of sides here. At least out of good-looking sides. I suppose I could put some drawer in the middle there. But I don't really want to do that if I can't, if I don't have to. Here's our finished product. Overall, I'm actually quite happy with how this came out. Looks pretty good. It's pretty streamlined. Makes sense to look at visually. This feels not too out of the way or nothing. It's kind of just a nice addition to the room. It kind of breaks up the same walls everywhere. Overall, I actually really liked this line here. I just did not like that line there, which is why it's in the corner under the stairs. This was really interesting to put a lot of pieces together, and using conduits in a way like this makes things just feel a lot nicer. Even if it was something like thermodynamics pipes or mechanism pipes, it would still probably feel kind of good to play with. Whereas with these machines, their annoying sidedness is just so frustrating that you have to put them in a very specific manner, or you put them at weird angles to get the thing you want, and it still ends up coming out because it's on this side and that side, so there's nowhere good to put any cables or anything like that. It's just very frustrating to try and deal with the really complex mechanism machines. We have an export bus down here, so this should always make us sulfuric acid until we hit the top here. But I imagine that will take quite a while, so I might put some speed upgrades in here in the meantime. In the time it took us to build and also fix problems, we've gotten to almost our full buffers for the clumps. I believe the shards are doing pretty good, and the crystals have yet to even start backing up because we're only barely thinking about backing up on shards. Why is this not going anywhere? I just realized I made a really bad mistake with my cabling. I thought these would extract. However, the side I wanted to extract from is the side we're inputting to with the flint here, which Mekanism is showing its annoyance with being able to push and pull on the same side again. I'm going to try and figure out how to fix this one. Not sure how I feel about this fix. We're extracting from the top now, so we have to run some trim around the out and around, which looks really weird, but we're obviously going to just color it to look like the mist at the back there. I mean, it works, so I mean, that's still pretty good. I guess I'll see the finished product in a moment. Actually, some clever conduit facading makes it look completely identical. Cool. So in that circumstance, our tin clumps are almost full, our iron shards are full. It looks like flint is being bottlenecked again, so I need to see if that's being crafted fast enough, maybe. And beyond that, it's just that the sulfuric acid, I believe, is really slow. Yeah, that's the only real bottleneck besides that. So I think that's pretty good. I think I'll probably tweak a few upgrades between episodes, but otherwise, it works, and works pretty well. Glad we got this all out of the way at once. Well, it's a new day yet again, and I don't have much to tell you about today. We're just going to be wrapping up shortly, actually. The little bit that I have done is I put a couple things here on passive. These upgrade bases I use a lot. I edited the rainbow generator config a little bit. After watching Anti-Axolotl's video, I actually read the quest book. Probably the one quest I didn't read. You actually only have to run this every 11 ticks. So we have our thing over there hooked up into a timer, so we can actually get 11 times more bang for our buck when running the rainbow gen, which is actually super nice. We also hooked up our induction casing a little bit differently. We have power cells being fed power, is a way to put it. One of the reasons is because I think how these conduits work is they transfer energy by connection, so the more connections, the better. So now it's transferring like these 300k RF a tick melodic energy conduits times 6 to these power cells, which is a lot of power. And the main reason was to do this over here to make our quantum queries run even faster. I threw some efficiency in here, which seemed to speed up quite a bit. I could put in Rive, but, well, our machines are already barely keeping up. I doubled our enhanced sag mills, got rid of the end-steel grinding ball one, so they're all on melodic grinding balls, just taking everything basically. And they're all on melodic capacitors now as well instead of octatic. So these things are chugging at about as fast as they could really go, and they're still only barely keeping up with our demand. That said, boy are we rich now! This is great! I still might set up that witch farm for glowstone, because glowstone is just slow. Diamonds are running a teensy bit low, emeralds are catching back up, but again, beyond all of that, we're super fine on just about everything. And we're also done with the episode for today. We didn't do a lot, but I think what we did was very heavy work, we'll call it. We automated our tier 1 essences for blood magic, and we set ourselves up to automate tier 2 essences, likely a lot easier than the tier 1s were. We set up powered spawner automation, so now we can make powered spawners even easier. And ender crystals, sentient ender, and things like that aren't nearly the pain they used to be. And we set up Mekanism Quintupling for purposes of making strengthened catalysts, and that's about it. Or whatever the top tier catalyst is. I suppose at the beginning I was very right to call this goal very lofty, as we didn't even really break into our second checkbox this episode, but hopefully, with all the hard parts out of the way, this will be a bit easier for next time. And I hope to see you next time as well. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.